Hey, what's up there YouTube? It's Angel with Caught It Outdoors, and I wanted to bring you guys a video on my fishing setup and how I have my kayak all set up for fishing as far as right now. And so there's plans I have for the future, but as of right now, these are the things that are working. I've taken this kayak out on a few fishing trips, and these are some of the things that are working for me. And so I want to share those things with you, as I know a lot of people like to look at other people's setups and how they got, especially guys that are just barely getting into kayak fishing and maybe want to get some ideas. And so here's a few things you might want to just, you can bounce off or maybe ask some questions. You could always ask questions, down in the comments below. And so let's get with it. And so far what has been working for me on the Kayak Radar 135 is this setup here. And so there are some things that are just essentials. And so we'll go ahead and start from the bow to the stern of what I've got going on here. And so most evident that you could see here is a fishing kayak, and in any kayak, in all my kayaks, I always have an anchor trolley. And so this is this line here. And so I have my anchor line set up where I can run out line. I have 100 feet of line on this, believe it or not. It's yellow for visibility. And so I have this a Berkeley marker that I use as a buoy to float it. And so if I've ever in a situation where I've got to drop this line, all I got to do is just unhook, and I can do whatever I need to do and come back to it. And so as long as I've given myself enough line that the anchor doesn't take it under. And so this here, the way I have this set up is I unhook from this loop, and I can go ahead and just reel out as much line as I want. And I can go ahead and hook back up here. And I've got as much line as I want out. Usually once I hit bottom, I give myself a foot or two. And then I go ahead and, just lock it here, and it's good to go. Your anchor trolley, as most of you know and should know, this is for positioning. So this is for positioning yourself in the currents. And if you want a demonstration of that, I've got a video on my kayak setup on my SS10, the Sun Dolphin. Go ahead and check that video out. And I do a demonstration in that video of how to deal with currents and whether it's wind or whether it's water. And so let's move on. Crucial to me, and most of you guys, new addition, is my coffee cup holder. You gotta have one. You gotta have a coffee cup holder on your kayak. I have to. I drink coffee, and it's just one of those I got to have. And so, of course, we have our pedal system, we have our seat, but we're talking fishing setups. Those are things that are not something that pertains to everyone, because not everyone has the same kayak. Now, when I go out fishing, one of the things I do take is an ice chest full of ice and full of waters or drinks or lunch or whatever I'm going to take. I'm usually out fishing, for say 4 or 5 hours in the mornings, and you want to have water. You don't want to get out there and end up dehydrated, end up cramping. And especially with a setup like this, with pedaling, you want to stay hydrated, stay healthy. You want to be on your A game. As far as tackle, I keep all my tackle in a bag here so far, and in this bag, I carry my my DIY stringer, and I carry various things in here. I carry extra spools. I carry these in case I'm going to fish at night, or in case I want to fish and walk away from a line that I throw in, say, some bait for carp or catfish. You know, these just hook onto your rod and your line, and I mean, it alarms you. And so it is a nice alarm. I really like that. Up here in this pouch, I carry plastics. You know, I'll carry a variety of plastics. I've got some creature baits, some crawdads here. I'll carry some worms. Zoom worms are pretty good. Some other creature baits. I've got these lizards, and then some swim baits. And I'll carry these things. I've got grubs, you know, and here, I didn't even know I had this, but I've got some jig heads in here. Forgot about those. Usually some hooks that are misplaced in pockets. Robo worms. You want those finesse worms if you're going to be fishing plastics. Sometimes the difference between a big creature bait and a finesse worm is a difference between catching fish and not catching fish, you know. And so I carry all my plastics in there. I don't take too much tackle, you know. Size and weight constraints is what's important on a kayak. You know, you can't go too crazy. I mean, you know, you can't have a ram mount for your microwave on your kayak. I mean, if you got a big old 300-pound kayak, go ahead. But in this kayak, you know what? I want to be able to get out on the water and not feel my kayak go sluggish. And that is one of the reasons why I moved to a larger kayak, is because my 10-foot kayak, I loaded up with most of what I have here, and I would head out on the water, and I'd head out across the water, and I would feel it sluggish, just kind of going through the water. I don't like that. And so I needed to up the capacity. And so when it comes to capacities, size and weight constraint, you can't take everything in the kitchen sink. So I carry very minimum as far as tackle. You know, here, my last fishing trip, I went for crappie. So I've got a whole jig set of jig heads and crappie baits as far as, you know, grubs. And so I carry, here's out of place, but here's my terminal tackle, most of my hooks, weights, and I've got a few plastic swim baits and frogs in here. And I keep these in this pack. This pack's getting pretty packed, and so we'll talk this later. I've got another stringer in here. I've got fly boxes of flies that I've tied. I've got dry flies, and I've got most of my nymphs and just bugs here for bluegills, whether gurglers, poppers, spiders, micro jigs, bunny leeches of all types and colors, and nymphs. And so I keep those in here. Let me set this down. I carry leader line. This is a 12-pound test fluorocarbon, and so I keep this stuff so I can continue to change out the fluorocarbon. Something I've heard you want to keep doing. I'm kind of new to using fluorocarbons and stuff like that, but you want to change that out often when you're going from braid to fluoro. Here in this box here, I've got all my crankbaits and some jitterbugs and some topwater. And here I've got a bunch of bass bugs, a bunch of flies, because my fishing, usually I target. Let me put the stuff back. So like I was saying, usually I target fish. I'll say, I'm going out, I'm gonna go out for bass. And I'm gonna stick to bass. And so, but with me, rules, they're meant to be broken. And so at any time, I can just go ahead and just decide I want to fly fish. And fly fish for whatever. And at any time, if my target fish ain't biting, I'm gonna go for something that is. And so let's move on. So back here on my kayak, I have, of course, this kayak is set up with track mounts. You know, my coffee cup holder's on there. My fish finder screen is on there, on tracks. Here we have the Scotty rod holder mounts. And so these you just turn, yeah, and these pop off. Or you just drop them in and they lock in. Now these aren't Scotty rod holders, these are Atwood rod holders. But if you compare these to the Scotty rod holders, the Scotty rod holders are like a brick. These are really slim line and thin. I like these better than the Scotties. I like the Atwood. So these came with my kayak, the Sun Dolphins. I bought 2 kayaks, and so each one had one. So I don't use those kayaks when I go fishing unless I'm with someone else. But I have these and I put them on here, and so here's my crate. Now I have to say something about this crate. Now a lot of people will down these crates. These are from Walmart and they're real flimsy, but they're really light. And people complain, they say they're really flimsy. You know, you want this tough original milk crate, which weigh 3 times the weight of this. Again, let's go back to size and weight constraints. How much weight do you want on your kayak? Now, I've got a setup on my truck in where I have ramps and I ride my whole kayak up a ramp fully loaded, minus rods. Completely. My last fishing trip, I came out of the water, put my rods away, grabbed the whole thing and rode it up the ramp and strapped it. Went to camp, went to sleep. Ready for the morning, got to the water, unloaded the whole thing into the water, put the rods on, and we go to town. Why would I want to add more weight? And so, size and weight constraints. So this crate for me is better than all the other ones. I've made out of ABS. I made these rod holders here, a 3 set of rod holders. Now in my kayak crate, very crucial to what I carry is sunscreen. I carry bug spray. My last fishing trip was a nightmare when it came to bugs. Now that I'm doing night fishing, I also carry this lantern that is fully adjustable. It's LEDs, and so you can hit the switch to one side and it lights one, hit the other one, lights 2, hit it again and it turns them all off. And you can position this anywhere, hang it, whatever, use it once you get to camp. I also carry a bag with tools and my first aid kit. Now you better carry a first aid kit, and your first aid kit better be an extensive kit. In this kit I have as far as band-aids, I have heartburn pills, I have ibuprofen, but I also carry scalpels, and I carry a full suture kit. I carry a medical instrument that takes fine pieces of metal out of the eye. It's magnetic, and on one side it's got a nylon loop, kind of like a 50-pound test line. It's pretty extensive as far as I got hemostats for different things. For hook removal, they will work great. You know, if you get a hook, and I mean, it's only going to go one way. Either you carry some nippers that are big enough to cut that hook and pass it through, or you better carry the means to cut your skin and meat open and get that hook out. I also carry some extra grease and some more sunblock. And so far this is all I carry. I also have in here is my, we'll go over this. This is my Yak Attack. This is my Visicarbon stern light. And so we'll go over lighting in a different video. As far as rods go, you know, you see guys with out there kayaking and you see all these rods. You know, you see that in guys in bass boats too, but so you might say, why? Why carry all the rods? You could only fish with one. Legally, as far as I know, you can fish with 2 rods in Arizona, that I think, don't quote me. But there's some places, I mean, the laws may be different where you're at. Why would you carry so many rods? I mean, I carry 1, 2, 3, 4 rods, 5 rods, and a fly rod. And so let's go over the reason why. Reason number 1 is I don't know what the fish are doing. I may have an idea. You know, I may see postings, you know, bass are biting topwater, bass are biting on drop shots, bass are doing this and that. But you know what? Things change. You get out on the water and all of a sudden, you know, you have your heart set on fishing your brand new crankbait. You get out there, you're throwing your crankbait, your deep diving crankbait, and bass start hitting topwater. Well, you know what? It may not seem much to, you know, cut your line and switch, but it's a lot better to just grab another rod already set up for topwater. And so that's what I do. I have my rig set up for drop shot. I've got a rig set up for a deep diving crankbait when I don't want to go the slow and low motion and say I want something more of a reactionary type of bait. I want to try and cover more water, and so I say I'm searching, so I want to make more of a commotion for the fish. So I'll have a deep diving crankbait, maybe something that rattles, and so I'll also have you know, maybe a swim bait or a topwater. Right now I don't have any topwater set up here, but usually I have a crankbait, a drop shot, a topwater lure, say like a frog or a jitterbug. I really like jitterbugs. But also I will always carry a rod with a hook and a bobber, just in case. You know, sometimes you're out there and nothing's biting, you know, worms, live bait, whatever. You want to throw them out there and just kind of see what's going on. Sometimes nothing is biting your lures and you don't want to go home skunked. I don't. And so that's what I'll do. I will always have a fly rod with me, because no matter what the rule that I've set for the day, the rule could always be broken. I could switch over to fly fishing for bluegill. You know what? Hey, it's great to catch bass, but I love fishing for bluegill. And so let's go. Let's continue on. Here in the back of my kayak, of course, I've got my rear pulley for my trolley. I've got my Mighty Mount for my Visicarbon stern light, of course, my rudder, and I've added a pad eye here for being able to hook the leash of the Visicarbon Pro light. And so we went over rods, we went over crate, paddle. So why would I want to paddle on a kayak with pedals? Because any mechanical device can break. And so you'll always need a paddle no matter what. There's times where I've gotten in situations where I dare not paddle or pedal because there is grass. There are things that can get caught up in my prop. The last thing caught up in my prop was a crappie who took my stringer and wrapped it around my prop in the middle of the bite. And it took me 10 minutes to unravel the mess that ended up, you know, that came about, that crappie getting into my prop. And so yes, you need a paddle. As far as a paddle, I have the Oracle Angler. The Oracle by Odyssey. This is a great paddle. Let me tell you something about a good paddle, difference between a good paddle and a cheap paddle. I have a cheap paddle. I'll give you from my experience. I have a cheap aluminum paddle that came with my Sun Dolphin kayaks. After 4 hours, my hands hurt from the aluminum. I feel like I'm getting almost like splinters, but it's the aluminum. Material matters. This is carbon fiber, and it's oval in shape here where your hands go, and it turns so that you can get the right pitches and the angles for paddling, and it also extends so that when you raise your seat or you go low, you can lengthen or shorten your paddle according to the height of which you're at, because that's important, so that you're not banging on the side of your kayak. Moving on, here we have our, let's get to this side. We don't want the sun in the camera. Over here we have our ram mount, and I got the X grip mount here for our fish finder. I use a deeper, and usually I just hang the deeper off on the side on this kayak. And right now, oh great, right now we are running a simulation. If you can see that, oh, here we go. It's a simulation of what the deeper shows. Most of you are already familiar with the deeper smart fish finders. These things are great. And so let's move on. So one of the new additions that I made to this kayak is a 12-volt system. Here is my console. This is what they call the flex pod, and so you can see cable coming out here, and so I have in here set up with a battery, a 12-volt battery, 12-volt 9-amp battery, and so this is designed specifically for this use. My phone's ringing. Should have turned it off. And so we have this set up here, and so one of the things that happens is you're out there and you're fishing, especially like me. I mean, I can mount a dedicated fish finder, but again, that's more weight. That's more things that are going on here, and so I already have a fish finder. I have the deeper, and so I'm not going to take a $200 fish finder and just toss it or sell it and spend more time and money in rigging and learning another fish finder when I already have one. The problem with the deeper is that thing was going out on me after 3 to 4 hours in the Arizona heat. You got to remember, if you're not from Arizona, in the summertime, the moment you walk out of your door to head towards the lake at 3 a.m., it's 95 degrees. Heat and batteries don't go well. Our car batteries usually last 2 years. That's it. They die. I don't care if you get a 5-year warranty, they die because the heat kills them. And so in the summer heat, I've got my Bluetooth set up with my deeper and my phone, and guess what? They're in the sun, so they're getting drained. Well, we changed all that because we now have the capacity to charge. I have a 1 amp and a 2.1 amp charger. I've got a 12-volt plug for underwater fishing lights. I've got my on-off, I don't have it plugged in right now, but my voltmeter, which tells me what my voltage is on on my battery. And so here I have power coming out, and it goes into here to power up my lights. Now, like I said, I started doing some night fishing, and so for night fishing we have lights. I'm going to do a video, an extensive video when it comes to navigational lights, but I have set up a switch here I have for my cockpit lights, which are under here. These are amber colored LEDs which do not draw bugs. And over here on this side I have a switch which turns on my bow lights. My bow lights are right here. We have red to one side and green to the other. And again, like I said, I'm going to be doing a video on the purposes and the reasons for navigational lights and the legal issues concerning that, because you know, guys outfit their kayaks with all kinds of lights and this and this and that and different colors and stuff, but there's a legality to it. And so this is my setup, and so I want to just wanted to share that with you guys. And you know, if you got any questions, go ahead and chime in at the comments below. And well, that's it. Catch you guys out on the water. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.